Hi, welcome. This video is going to show you how to find the sine ratio from a right triangle. I do have a video that is more vague where it tackles sine, cosine, and tangent, I believe all in one video. I'm creating this to kind of just slow down and create some baby steps for people that are learning trig. And I'm targeting the remote learning situation that we're in right now where nobody has any one-on-one help to go to, so I'm just going to I'll have a video for the sine ratio, I'll have a video for the cosine ratio, and the video for the tangent ratio, something of that sort anyways. The other things is I also have other videos created for some things involving trig, such as how do you know when to use trig versus Pythagorean theorem, so there's that video. And there's also a video on just how to label the triangle itself. So if you're struggling on those skills and you're kind of confused, you can go back and look at those videos. All right, so let's just talk real briefly about what we're doing here. We are finding the sine ratio, and in trigonometry, right triangle trig, we have three different trig functions or ratios that we use in the beginning, in the introductory. So SOHCAHTOA is the mnemonic device that we help to remind ourselves what they are. We're going to be dealing with this part here. So is our reminder that when we want to find the sine of an angle, the way that we find that ratio of that angle, whatever reference angle they give you, the O and the H means that we're going to find the opposite side, put that on the top part of our fraction, and find the hypotenuse and put it on the bottom of the fraction. So I'm going to show you exactly what that means. There's 3 steps that I have written down. Honestly, they're not difficult steps to take, and if you follow them, especially if you're starting out and or you've struggled in the past, this will really help you out. So you might want to pause this so that you can write them down. So for the circle here, we're asked to find sine of A. So I'm going to do the first step. The first step says to identify the reference angle. Here's the reference angle. It's telling you find the sine of angle A. Notice that they use the capital A here. So I actually, when I am in a classroom, I kind of force or encourage my kids highly to kind of circle that reference angle. Second step is to label the hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent sides. And again, I do have a video on exactly what that is. So the hypotenuse is opposite the right angle, so I'm going to label that with an H. The opposite side is opposite my reference angle, so I'm going to label that with an O. And then the last side that I haven't labeled yet is my adjacent sides. I'm going to label that with an A. Step 3 is find the ratio they asked for. So they're asking for the sine of A, and as I've written above, the sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So the sine of A, our opposite, we go right back to the circle, is 6 over the hypotenuse is 10. And notice that it says reducing if needed. So 6 over 10 is our answer, but we want to simplify that. And they can both be divided by 2. So 6 divided by 2 gives me a 3, and 10 divided by 2 gives me a 5. So that's one problem. We're going to do 3 more. If at any point you're starting to feel confident, hit the pause button, try the problem on your own, and then come back and see if you got the right answer. So our second problem, it's asking us to find the sine of Z. So Z is my reference angle, so I'm going to circle it. And again, I'm going to, I tend to always start off with writing out what quote unquote the definition is. So the definition of the sine ratio is the sine of the angle is opposite over hypotenuse. Now I'm plugging in what I know. They want us to find the sine of Z, that is the angle. So I need to label my triangle. So opposite the right angle is my hypotenuse, opposite the reference angle is my opposite, and the last side that's left over is my adjacent. So if I'm looking for the opposite, I have it nicely labeled, which is kind of why I label it. I don't have to think anymore. I'm just going to throw the numbers in where they go. I need to find my hypotenuse, which I have nicely labeled as 50. So 48 over 50 is a decent answer. It's not simplified or reduced. So let's say I'm going to divide by 2. So 48 divided by 2 is 24. 50 divided by 2 gives me 25. So that would be my answer. The sine of angle Z is 24 over 25. It feels awkward. But this is kind of an intermediate step. We are going to eventually use these to solve problems, and that is the whole point of it. But we can't just jump into that yet. We need to kind of get used to how to set up things, how to choose the right trig ratio, that sort of thing. All right, 2 final problems here. So the first question is asking us for the sine of X. Again, I'm going to identify and circle my reference angle. Excuse me, I'm going to label the sides of my triangle. Again, I always find the hypotenuse first. If you've watched any of my other videos, I've said the same. It's easy to find. Then I go and label my opposite because I feel like that is also easy to find. And then the third side, excuse me, will be my adjacent. So again, starting off with the definition, the sine of any angle is opposite over hypotenuse. Do you need to write that step down? No, but if you're a struggler or you kind of lose your way halfway through, it's not a bad place to start. Then we plug in what we know from the problem. They're asking us to use the reference angle of x, and the opposite I have labeled as 40. The hypotenuse I have labeled as 41. That cannot be reduced, so that would be my final answer in that case. All right, final problem. This time they're asking us to find the sine of z. So z is my reference angle. Now I'm going to label my triangle. So opposite the 90 degrees is my hypotenuse. Opposite the reference angle is my opposite, and the last remaining side is my adjacent. The sine of any angle is the opposite over the hypotenuse. Oop, really sloppy handwriting all of a sudden. Now we plug in what we know. The sine of angle z equals, what do I have labeled for my opposite? That's 36. My hypotenuse I have labeled as 39. And I am recognizing that 3 goes into both of these numbers. So 36 divided by 3 gives me 12, and 39 divided by 3 gives me 13. All right, so that would be my final answer in that problem. All right, I hope that this helped, at least as far as finding how do you find the sine ratio when you're given a triangle.